welcome to a reading wrap up. So the way that this is going to go is, I have said for a stupidly long time that sit down videos I'm struggling with. I could just about get through a TBR video, but other than that, I don't know what it is. They make me feel really awkward. I like doing tag videos, sit down wrap up videos, just haven't been for me really. Not to do it all in one fell swoop anyway. So I did come across this idea a while ago. I can't remember who it was. I feel like, I want to say her name was Danielle, but I don't know. There was a bigger YouTuber that did her wrap-ups basically as she went, in like a vlog style, as she finished them throughout the month, and then posted it at the end of the month. So that's what I'm going to do. We're still in spooky season mode, so we're going to go with a ghosty today. And I do actually have a first update for you. So I've just read Your Blood, My Bones by Kelly Andrew. I will say that this was top tier. The vibes were eerie enough, spooky enough, made me creeped out enough that it like kept me on edge and I had no idea what was going on, but not too much that I thought that it might be too much for me. I have a very vivid imagination, and there is a very fine point when it comes to sort of like horror and things, where if it's too much, like, it stays in my brain and then I keep thinking that someone's going to come and kill me. I haven't hit that point with this. It breaches the cusp of it, but it's not there. But this follows a girl called Wyatt and two boys, James and Peter, and it starts off with her leaving the Westcott house and leaving her father behind at the beginning of the book, and then she's coming back 5 years later. This is a story that evolves as it goes. Kelly has a way of bringing you into the person's point of view, and everything that that person's feeling when you're reading their point of view is how you end up feeling. And one minute you're trusting someone, the next minute you're questioning them, then you're questioning whether something's in your head, and then you just don't know what the fuck's going on. So we predominantly are in Wyatt's POV and Peter's. Near the end of the book we have James's at one point, and I really like how that's done. It didn't need to flip through all three throughout the whole of the book, but that final part where James's POV comes into it, so well done, so elegantly crafted. Kelly Andrew just has a way of crafting her books. I don't know, it makes me feel like the writing's really, it's easy to read, it's not too complex, it doesn't make me feel dumb, but it does leave me questioning constantly who I can trust. I am on edge the whole time. At no point within this book did I feel safe, and I love that because it has this paranormal element and this slightly magical element as well, but it's not like all fairies and dancing and waving your wands kind of thing. It's the kind of magic that has consequences, and it's not really like good or bad, it's just, it is what it is. And that's the kind of magic I like. I don't really like when someone says there's good magic and bad magic. I like it when it's all down to how the person who has that gift uses it, because it keeps me on edge more. If you've got a good witch with good magic, you know that everything's going to be good. But if you've got someone that has magic that can flare up with their tempers, or depending on how they're feeling will depend on what manifests or what happens, Like, that keeps me on edge and that makes me feel invested. And I really liked the characters. Kelly has a way of giving you an ending that you might not necessarily think is a happily ever after, but it fits with the narrative of the book. She's not afraid to pull at your heartstrings. I didn't cry, but the lump in the throat was there. Like, the feelings by the end of this book, I just wanted to wrap all 3 of these kids in a blanket and just make them a hot cocoa with marshmallows and whipped cream on top and make sure that everything was okay for them all, because they'd been through so much and they didn't deserve it. None of them did. So that's me, and that is Your Blood, My Bones. I am now moving on to my reread of Miss Percy's Pocket Guide to the Caring and Feeding of British Dragons, and the first time I read this, I think I give it a 4.5 or a 4, and then rounded it up anyway. But I'm so excited to dive back into this world. It's just, especially after Your Blood, My Bones, cozy fantasy coming my way. Hello friends, we are coming in with another update of another book finished. Yes, I finished Miss Percy's Pocket Guide to the Caring and Feeding of British Dragons, and I think I'm going to up this to a 5. Miss Percy's Pocket Guide to the Caring and Feeding of British Dragons, if I haven't already mentioned this, follows a woman called Mildred. She's, I think, she's sort of supposed to be in like early 40s, I think, but she's deemed as a spinster because she has never married, never had kids, and they live in a time where, you know, you have to be courted by the males and you have to deal with all the societal pressures of being a woman. And her sister is a bitch. Her sister cares nothing about her. She only cares about how people view her family and having her kids taken care of by somebody other than herself. She has servants, she has Mildred look after her kids, and she cares nothing for her, and she doesn't appreciate the fact that she's got Mildred there. She just assumes that because Mildred gave up her life to look after their ill father, that when he died and she went to live with her sister feels like Mildred owes her so much because she let her do that, despite the fact that she gave up any semblance of a life of her own to be her dad's carer, which just aggravates me anyway and already endears me to her as a human. But she, at the beginning of this book, Mildred has no voice. She internally will say things to her sister and will think things about her sister and her spoiled children, more so the older child who's like 17, I think, and she's coming up in society and all that, and it's more so about how they treat her, and the man of the house literally doesn't say anything, just won't say boo to a goose, lets her sister do whatever she wants. And at the beginning, Mildred hides things from her, and she gets this inheritance from her great uncle who passes and leaves her what her sister is hoping is some kind of big package that could be used as to bring them up in higher standing in their little village of Upper Plimpton. It's just not the case. So it's full of books and what they think is a rock. Obviously, as per the title, it's not a rock, it's a dragon egg, and it all goes from there. And along with the slight romance, which is, it's kind of like, it gives me the vibes of India Holton's books where she's thinking about him but she doesn't want to be thinking about him, and she's like, oh, that's improper. And I don't know, unless you listen to it and you hear the way that it is, it's just sort of, it's just really cute and really sweet. It's also about her on the journey, like trying to find out about this dragon, where it came from and all that, but it's also about her finding her own voice as well, and like the ability to stick up for herself and actually do what she wants and stop letting her sister walk all over her, which the moment that happens is just, you fist pump the sky being like, yeah, Mildred, It's so great. I'm just about to come off my lunch and I don't know what else to read now. I will be back with you when I have another update. I'm coming in with an update. We are now on, what are we on? It's 20 to 11 on Wednesday the 6th of November. And I have now finished 4 more books. They're not in order. The Flawless, Heartless, Powerless, and Reckless by Elsie Silver, and these were all 5 stars. I've mentioned it in the weekly vlog that I did where I read these, and I've literally just finished that clip on one of the clips. But there are content warnings in here. It only mentions content warnings on the audiobook for one of them, which is Reckless, but there are discussions around loss of a child, manipulative behaviour, emotional abuse from a spouse, gaslighting, childhood trauma of neglect from parents. Some of the topics in here for each individual person there are a lot. There's just something about the way Elsie Silver deals with all of the third act breakups. I think I find a real telltale sign for me that an author is just a little bit of a step above when it comes to like the romance sector is how they deal with third act breakups. You could go down the route of something really simple, standard miscommunication, half overheard conversations. I really hate the third act breakup where someone has heard one part of a conversation because they were earwigging and then blown everything out of proportion and stormed off and not communicated that to the other person involved in whatever relationship it is. That kind of miscommunication really bugs the shit out of me. And it's the withholding of information, the not communicating. But even though all of these characters have their own insecurities for valid reasons, there comes a point where they all sort of like get the balls to just stand up for themselves and speak their truth and learn how to communicate. And that for me is the sign of like mature people and a solid romance for me. Yeah, I do also like the frivolous rom-coms where it's just, you know, the topics are less heavy, but this is the romance that has a bit more to it that I really loved every single one of these. I genuinely don't know who my favourite characters are. I adore Winter. The relationship between Winter and Summer, they're sisters. Winter is book 4, Summer is book 1, which if this was just a quartet, that would be just peak, like Summer and Winter. I knew immediately when we met Winter that it wouldn't be, like, before I knew that book 4 was about her, I knew that she was more than what she seemed on paper, because I did message out Andy and I sort of said that Delilah Green Doesn't Care, that series, I don't know what the series name is, but they give me Astrid and Delilah vibes. So Astrid comes across as this cool, hard-faced, ice queen, ice bitch persona, but obviously it is just a facade, and there's so much more to all of these characters than initially meets the eye. Yes, there's tropes in there. Yes, it's cheesy, cringy at times. There's one of the kinks in here that's not really my thing, but I think that the smut scenes are done so well. The third act breakup, third act conflict, third act situation, what you want to call it, is handled so well. everything. Just, if you want to be critical and pick these apart, the writing isn't the best. But it's about the vibes, and the vibes were impeccable, and I can't wait to get paid so I can get the audiobook and the physical book of Hopeless. And the Hopeless follows Bo, which is the third Ian brother, and we haven't really seen much of Bo at all throughout this series. So I think connection wise I would be the least connected to him, but I genuinely don't know who the female MC is going to be in that either. Because in each of these we've met, or it's like the back end of each book has slowly led into what the next one's about, and it makes sense that Hopeless would be about Bo, but we've at least met the girl at some point in each of these books, and I can't think of another girl that was mentioned in these four at all that hasn't already been matched up with one of the boys. So I'm confused, but also, yeah, I will be back again when I've read something else, because I don't know what I'm going to read now. But 5 stars. New favourite series, romance wise. Feeling good, feeling fine, feeling funky, feeling fresh and fabulous. And now I'm going to go read some more. I'll be back with another book when I've finished. The Wrong Stop has been finished. So this was, when we got pitched this, as I requested that this was part of Indie Booktours, I did read the synopsis, but I've slept since then. But I don't reread synopses before I read the books. So I kind of forgotten exactly what this is about. This follows Hutch, Sully and Jed, who are in university, and they want to go on like a summer holiday, but they want to do some kind of adventure. So they've gone on an interrail tour around Europe, and we slowly are introduced to each of these characters individually whilst they're like on one of the legs of their journeys. And whilst they're on the little whistle-stop tour around Europe, they come across a creature, a person, a thing, an alien. They come across a person that is just sat by themselves, and they end up striking up conversations with this person, and there's just something a bit off about them. And I think when it says this is a sci-fi caper, it really is just, it reminds me of like a clean version of The Hangover, where like things just keep happening to these people, and there's one guy that just goes with it. There's one guy that's a total conspiracy theorist, and then you've got the other one that's just sort of like the go-between, and he's more level-headed, but he's kind of like, I don't know. I really do like the balance of friendship in this book. I also appreciate the way that these three shouldn't fit together, but they do, and by the end of it you really do feel like they actually care for each other. And it was just a fun ride. I found myself smiling, and it was just really interesting to read. I found myself smiling and laughing at this, and I would recommend, if you want something that's got a sci-fi twist to it, that's not overly complicated with ridiculously long, like, complicated language, and if you want a sci-fi that's not set in space, this is one that you could go for. Highly recommend. Just before that I did read One Dance, which follows a young boy who who has a stutter, and he is adorable, and I just want to protect him with all of my being. He's encouraged by some of his friends to take up basketball, which he doesn't seem to particularly like all that much, but he sees this girl dancing and he becomes really intrigued about why she dances and what dancing entails, and like he is enamored with how she expresses herself and how free she looks when she dances, and he decides to go and sign up to dance class instead, and it just goes from there. This was so wholesome and just adorable, and I can't wait to get to the rest of the series. I do have volume 2 in my library and I'm super excited about it. And then I also read the Otherworld books, Depend on the Bean Counter. That was a 4.5 star for me. It was a great introduction to a series. That is about, that also fills a prompt of a portal fantasy, because at the beginning of volume 1, our main character comes across a girl that's in distress, and he tries to help her, and instead gets pulled through to a parallel world and has no way of getting back. So he has to find himself something to do in that world. So he's very good at, he's an accountant, he's very good at numbers. He asks for a job as their accountant, and he meets their royal knight, and things go from there. He's, again, very adorable so far, and it didn't quite hit that 5 star for me, but I think we didn't really get too much detail about the characters. We got a little bit about like surface level stuff. I just want to get to know both of the male leads in more detail and get to know and see their relationship progress. So I can't wait for that. I will be getting more of them. I then read volume 5 of Full Metal Alchemist. 5 stars. Once again, I forgot what happened for parts of this series, because I did start watching it ages ago when it was on Netflix, and I haven't finished the series, but I did get to this part in the actual series, which I didn't think I did until I actually read it. And things are getting serious. Things are getting serious, and I know that there are some volumes that can be quite upsetting, and I know that like the volumes that I've got are 1.5 volumes for every one actual individual volume in the paperback. I think that I'm getting quite close to the parts now where things are going to get a little bit more high stakes and things might start getting a bit. I don't know if I mentioned this in the wrap up, but I have also finished Hopeless by Elsie Silver. This follows Bo, which is the 3rd brother in the Eaton family. And once again, like, there wasn't much of Bo, and Bailey is the waitress that we have seen sporadically throughout the other books, but I didn't clock on that this would be about her because she hasn't been introduced into the like storyline the way that the other girls were. So this kind of like shocked me a little bit because I wasn't really expecting this to be the one that it was. But I will say that this one does also go into deeper things, deeper content, and it's not just yeah. So this one was a bit difficult to read at times. Obviously Bailey's got a history. She's from a not great family. Her family are all criminals. Bo is a vet, so there's sort of like PTSD, and there's discussions around how that's affected him, and you know, it's not just PTSD from being in the war. In the previous book he did go missing for a few weeks, so there's that, and there's that side of it. I am not a vet and I don't know, you know, what the representation is like whether it's actually from an outsider perspective, I would say the representation of PTSD and that kind of thing is really good, but I don't know what it's like, so I don't want to speak on behalf of them. But from an outside perspective, reading this, I felt for Bo so much. I felt for Bailey being treated badly just because of her family being known for what they were known for, and I enjoyed their relationship so much. Another 5 stars. We're not surprised. I am also just finished Off to the Races, which was a 4.5, not a 5, because I feel like the banter and the funny parts, the kicking and squealing parts that I had fell in this series, I didn't quite get in the first book. There were some cute moments, and it just felt a bit quicker as well. The whole thing felt a bit quicker, and there were sort of time jumps. You know that they've been around each other for a long period of time, but you just don't get that time with them, if that makes sense. So it was still a really good introduction to a series, and that one follows Vaughn and Billy. Billy is hiding from a past of something that happened 10 years ago, and Vaughn is coming to try and save his family ranch from something that his grandfather's done, but his grandfather has since died, so he's got family issues to deal with, and an overbearing mother that likes to set him up on dates. But that sets up this first family in Ruby Creek. Book 2 that I'm on now, which is a photo finish, is about his brother Cole and Violet, who is the sister of Bo, Rhett and Cade, who we meet in the Chestnut Spring series. So that's how that series and this series connect. I'm just loving it. I will say that if you want a bit more of a light-hearted approach, start with Off to the Races, because the content of these ones is nowhere near that in Off to the Races. And so far in the photo finish, it's not really that deep. So I will continue to listen to this series, and I'll find out a bit more about the motivations and what's going on with the other ones in book 3. But as it stands at the moment, if you want a bit of a romance but you don't want the heavier topics that come with this series, then the Ruby Creek series might be for you. Hey friends, let's get ready with me to go absolutely nowhere. I'm just doing this because I feel like absolute shite, and I want to make myself feel better. And I don't know what that accent is. I'm so sorry, loves. It was a mixture of everything, and it sounded like crap, didn't it? But we're gonna go through, whilst I get ready, we're gonna go through the other things I have read this month. Sorry about the noise, the cat's just left the room. He was like, I don't want you talking. I want my space, I want some quiet time. So he's leaving my bedroom. So, all I'm doing right now is basic skincare. I've got myself a water. Do you care about any of this? I don't know. I've got the ordinary hyaluronic acid. I have very, very dry skin, especially in the cold seasons. So, use this to help retain some moisture. So, I don't know what part of our wrapping up process we got to. I'm just going to go through a few more things that I finished. Did I tell you that I finished all of the Elsie Silver books? Because it was a lot, and it was so good, and I had so much fun. I finished The Wrong Stop by Rex Burke first, after I went through my Elsie Silver phase at the beginning of the month, and then I gave that 4 stars. It was really good, and it was the final book tour book that we did for 2024. Can you like believe it is the end of 2024? We are coming to the end of 2024. It's absolute madness, darling. Absolute bloody madness. And also, I've just gone in with the Ordinary moisturiser. I used to try and do really complicated skincare, but I found that this, when I use them properly, these all work for my skin. So that is the that on that, my friends. I don't know what to do. Should I just glam myself up to high heaven just to sit around and read all day? Do I, friends? Do I do that? Do I do that? Maybe I do. Maybe I do. What I first want to do is my eyebrows. So, after we read One Stop, Wrong Stop even, did I tell you that I read my 3 manga? I read The Other World books Depend on the Bean Counter, which I gave 4.5 stars. It was a good opener to a series. I'm very, very interested in continuing with that series. That basically follows, I say basically, follows a young man who is an accountant in our world, and he gets transported to a parallel universe, a parallel world, when he tries to save a woman in need who is being pulled through to the other world. It goes from there, and it's a BL. There's been, I think we've met the love interest. He's supposed to be like a knight or the Queen's Guard in the other realm, which is gonna be fun, like a bodyguard, Queen's Guard type of BL romance, which is gonna be adorable, I think. This is really basic, so please don't ask me for any. I used to do makeup all the time, and when mental health gets really shit, so does my self-care. Doing my makeup was something I did for self-care after I stopped doing it as a job, so yeah. Anyway, that was really cute and cuddly, and I feel like that is going to be the kind of manga that I go to for like wholesome moments. As far as I'm aware, it's not a spicy manga. It wasn't a wrapped BL manga, so I don't think it's gonna have any spicy times in it. I just think it's gonna be like a wholesome heart-stopper moment, but for manga. But we'll see. We'll see. I will give you an update later on. I then read the volume 1 of One Dance. If I've already said all this, apologies. I then read volume 1 of One Dance. This is about a boy who, he has a stutter and he's not really sure what he wants to do. He's sort of pushed towards, obviously there's a lot of gender stereotyping. He's pushed towards, I think it's basketball in this, and he doesn't know if that's what he wants to do anymore, and he sees this girl dancing and he's like, I want to try that. So he tries out dancing and finds a passion for it, which I think is adorable. And also, I'm going to say adorable a lot when it comes to this series, just because it is bloody adorable. So yeah, that was just an introduction to that. If any of you care about this kind of stuff, just drop me a comment and ask me a question and I will respond. We then moved on to volume 5, Full Metal Alchemist. Once again, 5 stars. It's just continuing with the story of Ed and Alphonse, who, when they were younger, they were really interested in learning alchemy. Alchemy, when you learn it, it's about, what's it called? Reciprocity. It's, equivalent exchange, that's it. Equivalent exchange. And it's not like they live in a world where magic, and you could just willy-nilly use magic. It's a mixture of sort of magic and science, and there's a whole thing to it, and there's rules, and that's one of the things I really enjoy about Fullmetal Alchemist, is like there are rules. Because of said rules, and the boy is not following said rules, something happened, and they are spending their time now trying to... Wow, I am overexposed. I've just realised how bright I am. Not up here, just because you are also in front of my window, which is a new thing for me. So, yeah, one thing I love about Fullmetal Alchemist. Rules and consequences, and I'm sure that based on what Scifier has said about how this continues, that said rules are going to come into play a lot more further down the line as well, and there's going to be some more heartbreak, which I'm not looking forward to. Probably not, but we shall see. It's going to be a good time anyway, whether I cry or not. And then we moved on to Off to the Races by Elsie Silver. I finished off that series. I read, so there was Off to the Races, Front Runner, Photo Finish, Full Start. That's probably the wrong way around, but those are the ones that I read, and they were all 5 stars. I did initially, no, the first one was 4.5, sorry. Photo Finish was 4.5, but I rounded it up to 5 on Goodreads, I think. Trying to thinking of it though, it's one of the ones that sticks in my mind, but you could tell it was the sort of first series that she'd written. She hadn't really found her voice yet, and you could tell that because the banter that is in the rest of the books is far superior in all the books, and you could tell that it took writing that first book to really find that balance between like the banter and the romance and stuff, and the chemistry between the characters, which is not a bad thing. Battery's dying, bear with. We then moved on to Wild Love and Wild Eyes, which is like timeline wise. You've got the I know I said Crescent City then, it's not Crescent City. You've got the Chestnut Spring series, then, no you've not. You've got the Gold Rush Ranch, I think that's what it's called, series. Then you've got the Chestnut Spring series. And then we've got the, what's the new one? The Wild Love, Wild Eyes, Rose. I want to say Rose something or other. I think that's how the timeline goes. We don't know because my brain's gone all to shit. I then took a break from Elsie Silver and didn't read for a good few days. Because I didn't know what I wanted to pick up. And I was just stuck in this phase where I just didn't want to read physically, because the million times I've said this, I'm struggling to read physically at the moment, and I just didn't know what to do with myself. Don't know just what to do with myself. So I then went on to the tried and true, always good for a quick win, the Lady Hardcastle T. Kinsey series. There was a little Christmas novella, and I'd put my Christmas tree up. I was feeling very Christmassy, so I went and did that, and I had the best time. It was just a cute, fun, quick win, and yeah, I gave that 5. Did I give it a 5? 4. I'll give it 4 stars. But the rest of the Lady Hardcastle series, I've all got 5 because they are so good. And I highly recommend, if you like a cozy mystery, you need to grab yourself the Lady Hardcastle series by T. Kinsey. And I've mentioned this before, like a lot of cozy mysteries that I've read are like American authors, and it's like $12 for a bloody book that's like 200 pages long. And as much as I love these series, especially one like the Jana DeLeon Misfortune series, I adore those books. I can't justify paying £12 per book. And yes, I know I pay that for manga, but that's different because there's pictures. I then went on and read Grim Solace. That was not a great time, guys. I gave it 3 stars. 2.5, 3 stars. It was just okay. Once again, it's me who is the reason that we've DNF'd that series for the It's All About Fantasy Book Club. So the last month that we were supposed to do the last book in that series, we're not doing anymore. Chels still will read it, and Chels enjoyed it enough to continue. But I just didn't want to force myself through the last book. I said in one of my vlogs that I didn't want to be the one to DNF this series, because we are the reason I DNF'd Grace of Kings, and we are also the reason we DNF'd the Inheritance Cycle, the Aragon series, and I didn't want to be the reason we DNF'd another series. I just couldn't do it. I thought that the middle book was gonna go somewhere, and I had a feeling that I was like, I'll keep going, because I thought we were gonna get some answers, or like something that would like pull me in near the end of the book, because it started to look like it was going that way, and then it just didn't. So it let me down, right? Like, so I can't continue. So I've done my base makeup because I'm still relearning how to do my base makeup properly, because I've not done it in a while. So I need to still bronze myself up a little bit. I don't know why I'm doing this, because I'm literally just going to stay indoors and do nothing for the rest of the day other than read. But we're going to go with it, because why the fuck not? Well, we're going to go through the rest of what I read for the month of November. So, did I mention Strange Hymn? What was Strange Hymn about? Strange Hymn was good. I think I've talked about that one. And then, what did we do? The last thing we need to talk about is Deathless by Rob J. Hayes. Now, I ended up giving this book 4.5 stars because of the wonderful things Rob J. Hayes does. This is the first in the trilogy of trilogies. I'm just so excited to dive into the rest of this series. I think it's going to break my heart. The first part of Deathless was like looking at sort of like a 3.5, 4 star for me, and I knew that it was just sort of building up, we're getting to know the world of the characters and, you know, the politics. But then it moved to like the end half, like the last half of the book was 5 stars. Like, absolutely blew my goddamn little tiny brain. Really enjoyed it, and the end half was a 5 star. So in the middle, I kind of made it a 4.5. That is the end of my reading. I didn't read as much of the TBR that I set myself as I wanted to, but I did complete, I think I've completed most of the Tomes and Treasures prompts. If you don't know what Tomes and Treasures is, I will leave the announcement and everything linked below. It is now finished through the second round, and it's hosted by Ash and Jem. Again, I will leave them all linked below. I'm happy with the majority of what I read, even though I didn't get to read everything I wanted to. But that's it from me, guys. If you do like me and you want to see more from me, please like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And if you're here and you want to let me know you're here but don't have anything to say, please leave a block, guys. Very much appreciated. Enjoy whatever video, what you're not doing, and I'll see you all very soon.
Cold enough to make you shiver, but not cold enough to snow.